Hey there, this is Andy Hirsch here with another mini comic. This one is Deep Time from 2021. It's something of a companion piece to a book I had recently done about geology, which is Science Comics, Rocks and Minerals. I had this notion of deep time, history over millions and billions of years, very much on my mind. And those numbers are really difficult to communicate in a traditional book format. If we look in here, I managed to get 10,000 on a page, and then I had to turn to a metaphor about pages in a book and books on a shelf. But publishing this myself allowed me to use a format specifically chosen to communicate one idea. And in this case, the format is a continuous accordion book at a scale of 1 millimeter to 1 million years. So given the age of Earth at a little over 4.5 billion years, that gives us a comic that unfolded comes to, well, with the additional credits page, a little over 15 feet. So we take it out of our slipcase here, which as a bonus acts as a scale that you can read along with your book. Scale wraps around. This one isn't artist proof. It's a little worse for wear. But the comic itself. So we begin with the formation of the Earth. We have a collision with a second protoplanet, which will become the Moon, into our late heavy bombardment period. So we're already, each of these little sections is about 200 million years then. So 200 million years in, and we're just now getting to liquid water, and we transition under the ocean to hydrothermal vents, where we have the origin of life, single-celled organisms. That is obviously just one possibility, but it is certainly a plausible one. Continue on, we see how these vents connect through the Earth's crust deep into the hot and energetic center. Beginning of tectonic activity, and our continents begin to form. I like that transition where we're going from a sideways view to on top. And we're already about 1 billion years in. We have single-celled organisms at the ocean's surface, and we have the beginning of photosynthesis, which, as we keep going on, more single-celled organisms. Around here is when we're having the great oxygenation event, and Earth's atmosphere is getting a little closer to what we would recognize as livable. And we also have continental drift continuing, formation of our first megacontinents. So you can see we're already quite a ways in, and it seems like not much has happened, which is really one of the things I wanted to communicate with that. You'll see it gets very dramatic all at once later on. Still going, and again, each of these folds is 200 million years. So we're about, 2 billion years in or so, and we're just getting to multicellular life. Which is gathering into microbial mats at the water's surface. And as minerals get caught up in these, they form fossil structures called stromatolites, which are still around to this very day, and they're just built up layer by layer by layer. Something like a meter across or so, something like that. That's these guys here. Transition back under the ocean surface. We can see some of these mats, kind of their stringy structure hanging down from the surface. And finally, we're already 2/3 to the present day. We have the Cambrian explosion, where more interesting life forms really get going. This is already 4 billion years after Earth's formation. So now we start getting busy. We have a lot of sea life, crustaceans, and around here we have four-legged creatures, tetrapods, moving from the water onto the land. We're in the Carboniferous, into the Permian. We have not just animals, but plant life on land as well. The first trees, a ginkgo leaf. These are incredibly old species. Into the Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous. We have a lot of volcanic activity, which kind of divides these in a way. The first flowering plants here. And then we have the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event, that giant asteroid you've heard so much about 65 million years ago. And then just in this tiny little section, we can bring our scale down. We can see just how tiny this is. About 65 million years. We have birds. We have Mount Everest rising up from the collision of India and Asia. We have tiny ape down here. And then, apes, agriculture, the space age are all like right on top of each other. And I wasn't going to predict what happens after that. The last thing we have here is just a tiny Voyager. If we measure that, it is it's kind of arbitrary placement just for looks there. But that is about 85 million years in the future, which at the speed Voyager is going is something like 1,200 light years away, which even then is not even 5% of the distance from our sun to the center of the galaxy. Not that that's the direction that Voyager is necessarily going, based on available data and popular hypotheses at the time of printing. I do my best. So we can scroll back. Yeah, I'm just going to fold this up, and I'm going to do one scroll through the whole thing for us. You can hear that falling to the floor. It's a big topic, big comic. So there you go. One of the things that I think is successful about this is, look, it really does show you all the exciting stuff that you think of as happening so long ago is really just yesterday when you're thinking in terms of deep time. So let's fold this back up. And back in our case here. And there we go. I think that's a good one. That's a successful one.